All right. What is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Braves series, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff regarding this team. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored, you're just being starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant post-game reactions after every single regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly Post-Game. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all of your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of recording. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 160 of our show. And to be honest, Frank, we do these for, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm genuinely speechless at this point. I just keep asking, is this going to get any worse? And it just keeps getting worse. We've talked about it throughout the entirety of the year of things that needed to be cleaned up. They haven't been cleaned up, and they snowballed. And now the Mets are in a free fall where it doesn't seem like there's any end in sight whatsoever. And it just looks it just looks like a complete dumpster fire on the outside. And I don't even know when does it end here? Like, seriously, when does it end? Because there's so many different departments on this team that are just not just struggling, but just dying on impact. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been brutal. And I think the reason why you're speechless is because, to your point, like, we've covered all this already extensively. I mean, even from the beginning of the season, we pointed out issues and they've just become bigger and bigger problems. And it's just so interesting to me that in the beginning of the season, when the Mets got up to this big run, they're in first place, 20 games above 500. The big thing was, number one ERA in all of baseball as far as like the rotation, the bullpen, everything. Yeah, how's that going lately? Because, I mean, we've talked extensively about the hitting basically every single episode, but with how it's been going on lately, the pitching is also an absolute nightmare. I mean, it was a miracle that yesterday Kodai Senga made it through 4 innings. We complained enough about going 5. Then it became a challenge to go 4 innings. So it got worse. And then it's like, okay, well, now you got this super bullpen for these rentals. Let's give up a bunch of, young prospects and things like that, even if it wasn't the future of the team, not the biggest pieces in the world, but still it's young assets that maybe you could use for something else because you need some other things. And they're not coming through. I mean, this now, like I said last night, 3 games in a row for Housley. So it's like, even when we do have the lead, even when we do some things right, we get a little bit of offense, we get a little bit of volume out of the starting pitcher, you still find a way to lose. I mean, that's what a bad team does. You have so many different things wrong with your team that you have so many different ways that you could lose a game. It's defense, it's pitching, it's hitting. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's managing. Like, there are so many different reasons why this team has been struggling, and it needs to be a lot of different reasons when you free fall to the extent that you're talking about. I mean, when you are up in a division 5 games, now you are, a half game up in the wild card? I mean, they are this close to just falling out of playoff position altogether. Can you technically get back into playoff position? Of course you can. But with the way you are playing, it is going the other way. I mean, you are going to be falling further and further out of it by a team that's not all that great in the Cincinnati Reds. Like, they didn't have this massive deadline. Like, you were in it. You had a big deadline. You thought your team was going to be better, and the team has gotten much worse. So it's like everything that could possibly go wrong at this point has been going wrong. And once again, this is happening while basically fully healthy. There is no more pitching injury excuses now. There is no lineup excuses of, oh, well, this guy's not healthy and we don't have that guy. And no, it's just a bunch of players, like you've mentioned, $300 million payroll. You spend $1 billion, whatever it is. and they just are not coming through. Like, guys are just not doing their jobs. They are supposed to be better than this. All these players individually have been better than this in the past, but they are just finding inconsistencies. I mean, you see 13 runs in game one today, and you'll see random games where they score a bunch of runs.
Didn't even blink an eye.
And then it's gone.
Didn't even blink an eye.
So they just never build on any of it. So that's the thing that's frustrating, is that you see these flashes and glimpses of, hey, look, they can be successful. They could do it on any given night. It's just that they don't do it on most nights. So it has been very frustrating, because this team is supposed to be better, and they just keep losing. I mean, it could be a 1-run lead. They could lose by 1 run. They could lose by 5 runs. I mean, that's just the way it's gone lately. They've had a ton of games. They're up 5-0, up 6-1, and still lose them, and late in the game too. So it's just been very frustrating, because normally in those games you feel like you're in pretty good position, and they don't do that. Another stat that I saw was that the Mets have not won a single game when trailing after the 8th inning. So, I mean, that's you want to talk about, like, not having clutch, not having fight in you. Like, this team could never win a big game. I mean, do they win extra inning games? Most of the time, not. Like, they just don't come through.
Well, I mean, they get runners in scoring position. It's really hard.
Exactly. You can't. So you can't. It's hard enough to get a runner in scoring position. Even hard to get them to score. So when they give you one automatically, you still can't bring them in. So I mean, they just find so many ways to lose. You ground the ball third base, they throw it in right field. I mean, it's just been so many different things lately. And again, that's how you end up in the situation where you are losing so many games.
Yeah, I have just gone beyond what has been going on at this point. We pointed out plenty of these issues in the first 2 months of the season. We pretty much say this every single episode, where they were not playing good, fluent, winning baseball, and it was going to find a way to catch up to them if things do not improve. In the first 2 months, whether they had the best record in all of baseball or not, their offense was way too inconsistent. They had plenty of one-run losses. They were booting the ball around the diamond, throwing decisions,
and plenty
all
of
over
one-run
the place.
wins too. I feel like people don't talk about that enough. That the games that they were winning, it'd be like 2-0. Like, it was these just there. Well, look at this great record. It's like, yeah, but look at how you're getting it.
Coming from an unsustainable bullpen, an unsustainable starting rotation that was still allowing plenty of base runners, and we'll get into that rotation because it is a complete mess right now. And then you also had a bullpen of multiple long relief options that were basically worked to death throughout those first 2 months. I mean, the quality of wins matters. We've talked about this even before it even started to happen after those 2 months, because the first 2 months was what it was looked at as, looks like a legitimate team. This looks like the same team to me. It's just a team that's not getting that pitching that's carrying them whatsoever. And yes, I'm sure that there's things that have snowballed and gotten worse. And like we have said, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And that goes for every single part of the department of the offense or the pitching or the relief pitching. But I feel like also the message that's being sent is also starting to just completely either wear off, or it just continues to just be tiring at some point. I'm so sick and tired of it, and I've been someone who's cut a decent amount of slack for Carlos Mendoza. I am tired of hearing it every single day that this team has so much talent, and this team has enough talent, and this team has too much talent to be like this. This team has way too much talent. Evan and Matt, two fellow Ranger fans right here, they will understand what I'm about to say. You know exactly where it roots from. Talent does not mean a thing unless you play the right way. And once again, this team has not been able to execute, no matter how much talent they have on this team, no matter how much of these pieces that we know are capable of so much, of the young guys on this team and the potential and the ifs and these guys are good and this guy is good. How many of these stars we have on this team, of what we have seen guys like Brandon Nimmo do, and what we've seen Juan Soto do throughout his career, and Pete Alonso, of how great he's been as a Met individually, and Francisco Lindor being an MVP where is it when it matters? It's nowhere when it matters. They just completely come up small, or they just minimize what they could possibly do and what they are possibly capable of. Now, I talked a lot about the Mets hitting approach last episode, went into it a little bit of depth thanks to a great thread by Mets Analytics on Twitter from last week. And James Dowling saying batting stance from the last episode, and now I'm seeing what's happening. I think it's starting to open people's eyes of what this Mets offense, at least, has kind of just melted themselves into doing without even doing it. And I'll get into that in a second of a few examples in this series where it's basically just the same thing. No adjustments are made, no changes are made, and it's basically just the same thing that continues to snowball. You are never going to sit here and say that this team was going to keep up what they were keeping up. Because if you actually watch Mets baseball, you don't need to be a stat person, an analytics person. You don't need to do that to say that this team was not playing winning baseball for a majority of the season. In the first 2 months, I feel like we all just get this short-term memory of, well, wins are wins. Let's just completely forget about it. We can't completely forget about it. Why? Because things like this happens if they don't change. How are you going to learn any lesson? How are you going to learn to pick things up or be held accountable for things that shouldn't be happening and could become very, very detrimental if you do them again? I mean, does anybody remember in those first 2 months how hard it was to piece together those 9 innings? How much hard work it took for that bullpen in so many one-run games because the offense couldn't do anything? Mind you, an offense that is the most expensive department on the team. We've said this so many times here, and there wasn't any improvement. We're not sitting here saying, oh, well, we're right about this team, let's toot our own horn. We're saying this because we know that this team is capable of a lot more. And they haven't been showing it all year. Yeah, they just haven't.
I mean, and we've talked about this a bunch of times too, but, they were in the NLCS last year against the Dodgers, and then it's like you keep most of the same team together, plus add Juan Soto. Like, you're supposed to be National Championship Series or World Series team. Like, that
at face value. Perfect.
That was the expectation. And they're not even, they're on verge of not even making the playoffs while being healthy. Like, there's no excuse. I mean, there is just absolutely no excuse. It's no more, like you said with Mendoza, like, it's not a slump. It's not all our guys will get out of it. Like, it's gotten worse and worse. And it's like, I've talked about this a bunch too, but still every single day a new lineup. Now Mullins is batting 6. Now Mauricio's playing after not seeing him for a while. And that, like, you just see so many different lineups, and it's just like still not addressing the issue. Stop changing the lineups, change the coaching. That's what you need to do. I mean, like, stop with it's because this guy is only good when he bats in this spot in the order, and this guy needs to bat there in order to be successful. Enough already. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. Like, does it say it in the contract that Brandon Nimmo signed or Francisco Lindor signed that, in order to meet these statistics, this player must bat in this part of the order? No. Like, if you're a good player, you should be able to have success no matter where you are in the order. So it's not that. It is not the lineup construction. And the fact that they change it every single day, being like, this is what the issue was. This guy was batting in the wrong spot. Let's change this. And now the offense will be fine. And it never is. It never is. So that's the other thing that still frustrates me is that they still, like, we're going into September. They still don't even know what their lineup is. Like, they don't even know who should be starting every day. They don't. They're just kind of rotating it and just keep throwing stuff at the wall and being like, maybe we'll eventually get a lineup that's consistent. Still haven't done it.
Yeah. I mean, and we can even go even farther back. I even said the first 2 months where the pitching was carrying them and things like that. If everybody would tell us that we have the best record in baseball, if you want to talk about records that actually do matter, if you want to do that, since the beginning of May 1st, this team is 43-47. I mean, I guess that doesn't matter though, because it's not good news.
And then after in the last 2 months, they have one of the worst records in all the baseball. So you know what? If you want to be in the first 2 months season, they've won the best records in baseball. Well, not last so much. You got one of the worst records in baseball. So where are you? Right, nearly, just hanging above 500. Very mediocre season overall. when it comes down to it, because with what's happening right now, you're erasing that great start you had, because when you got that great start, it put you a great spot in the standings. That's totally gone. So all that hard work at the beginning of the season, like you said, overworking the bullpen, those tight wins that they're finding a way to navigate and win those games, erased. They're erased with so many inexcusable losses, just so many embarrassing games. Like you said the other day, garbage games. I mean, staying up for what? Like, it's just a mess. A 9-run inning. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, it's just absolutely crazy, some of the stuff we are seeing.
It's nuts. I'm seeing stuff that I don't think I have seen for a while, and I've seen a lot of crap as a Mets fan. I've seen a lot. But I'm seeing a lot of really rough games that I just don't see any team possibly recovering from. And there's absolutely no way that this team can recover, to be honest. I don't have any hope for them. I really don't. And I hate saying that with the season still going on. The Mets are still technically in a playoff race, but at the trajectory that they're going over these last few months, they have not been good. They have been basically just showing exactly what they were showing in the first month, but without the starting pitching help carrying them. And listen, I don't sit here and, like to just sit here and blame the manager at this point, or blame this or that. There's plenty of things that should be forced blame on. Like, Mendoza's lost them games before. David Stearns has made some moves that have been questionable. There has been some things, but in general, when you have a team like this, there was no move that was going to save this team. And even if you were someone who wanted Juan Soto, it doesn't look like that's saving this team either. It doesn't look like it is. Because to have the most expensive contract signed in the history of sports, and to have that followed up in the first year of that contract with the worst hitter with runners in scoring position, is insane. It's actually insane. And it basically just shows you the brand of what this team does. They're just not good enough. They're not good enough. They don't play good baseball, so they shouldn't be labeled as a good baseball team. Win-loss record does not show you exactly what this team is. It shows you the position that they are in. But when you play 162 games, not every single one of them is going to be the same. Not a single one of them is going to be the same. You just try to go 1-0 every single day. And sometimes, yes, sometimes the ball doesn't roll your way. But like, everyone will continue to tell me, well, we're hitting into some bad luck. Okay, so when is this going to, when is it going to, because luck can go both ways, right? Luck always goes both ways. So when is it going to go our way?
In the spring training?
We're past 120 games now. So when is it going to go our way? Because we're going to have to, because if it is going to go our way, I hope they're saving the best for last. I hope they are, because we're running out of time.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that if let's say that they're fighting the Cincinnati Reds like to the bitter end, and like the Mets just barely squeak by, but still not playing well. I always say this, like, you never want to go into the playoffs cold, because that's what happened to 2022. Exactly, where they still got in. They won over 100 games, but last month of the season they didn't play well. Marte Andre had a lot to do with their score, but they weren't playing well. And sure enough, they're gone first round. So it's always about the team that gets hot. We know that. That's why in this recent format, a lot of wild card teams have made it so far, because they got hot. They won the wild card, and then they go far in the playoffs. But if you go in cold, it is very hard to still win. I mean, could it be matchup dependent? Yeah, but when you look at it, it's like, who do the Mets match up well with right now? Because they struggle in so many different areas that, like, there's no good matchup. You don't want to face the Dodgers. You definitely don't want to face the Padres. It's like, who do you want to face? You don't want to face the Phillies. Like, I mean, it just seems like no matter who they run into, they are going to struggle with the way they're playing right now. They can't even beat bad teams, it feels like. Do you want to face the Brewers? Probably not. Like, I mean, It just seems like a totally different team, and it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. They're supposed to be a better team, and that has not been the case. So I just feel that, like, even if they did make it, like, it would be more so that maybe Cincinnati didn't play all that amazing, because they've been fortunate that the Phillies haven't been playing all that well either recently. I mean, they had a rough week or so. And if the Phillies were just playing the way they're capable of, the lead in the division could be even wider. Like it could be an even further gap that would be between these teams. So I mean, look at the Phillies. Like they're on a 3-game losing streak right now. So those are a couple games that like they could have gained ground on you, but you didn't. So you're lucky that they're struggling too at this current moment, because it could be much worse with how they've been playing recently.
Yeah, I mean, they've been fortunate enough to even continue to be in that. But again, it's more of just so much self-infliction that really just pisses me off so much, because even in those first 2 months, there was plenty of games that they were more than capable of winning if they were to just go, I don't know, 2 for 4 with runners in scoring position instead of 1 for 4. Like that's how close they were. And we knew that they were capable of it because, again, the most expensive department on this team had to come through. Now, the pitching has fallen off. I mean, shocker, because the team isn't built around pitching. There's a reason why I have cut so much slack to this pitching staff, because I didn't expect them to carry them. Like the team that we were about to play, Seattle, they get carried a lot by their pitching. So again, this was a department that was built, this was a team that was built around offense. And we needed the pitching to just be serviceable. I don't know if it's just a complete burnout when you have guys like Clay Holmes in here who are just becoming a starter, things like that, guys who are ramping up like Senga and Minaya, things like that. I don't know if that can be one of the factors here, but again, being somewhat competitive on the pitching side. And again, like I said, I cut them a lot of slack. But this is every single day. Every single day now. And I even said this in the one post game that I had to take over for you. That 2023 team, they struggled to provide a lot of length, and it was the main reason as to why that team just completely collapsed. But they sprinkled in a few of these good outings. But with this one, it's every single night someone's struggling to get out of the 5th inning, or someone's struggling to even get out of the 4th inning, which it seems like this past week, the 4th inning has been this dreaded, dreaded cursed ancient burial ground that the Mets can't get through. So I don't know what the deal is. We'll get into the rotation later on and break some things down. We obviously know that we have Noah McLean making his MLB debut on Saturday, so we hope that can help. But I again, you can't ask a 24-year-old kid to save the entire franchise with 40 games left to go. So again,
and he's not a two-way player anymore either. So it's not like he
isn't.
can just come into the lineup and hit bombs for them as well, because they need both.
And it's not like coming into the league, Ohtani was saving the Angels. So I mean, come on.
They had Trout, and we know what happened, and Ohtani.
Exactly.
So it's like we know it's a team sport. Like you said at the deadline, like no one move was going to save them anyway. So I mean, it doesn't feel like it's going to happen right now.
Yeah, I don't think that it's just one of those things of you have multiple guys who glue things together. I mean, we've talked about it, of the leadership of Francisco Lindor last year and how big that was for him, the breakout of Vientos. I mean, there was different factors as to why that team got hot. It wasn't just one player. And it was the main reason. I mean, and that was the crazy part of it last year, is what they were doing it in spite of their number one offensive producer for like the past 5 years was completely underperforming that year. And they all just kind of rallied behind everything, and they were able to get it together. But now it is 2025, and it's just not the same. And we've talked about this before of, how do we make 2024 not look like a fluke? They tried. They brought in Juan Soto. I mean, adding in Juan Soto, that isn't a fluke bat right there for you. That is an established bat. And somehow they've turned him just into crap. I don't know how they do it. Actually, I do know how they do it, but I don't know how it possibly happens every single time, why these guys just completely underperform. But for some reason, they seem to be just satisfied with that and just looking at the record at the end of the day. And they just see it as a half game up on the wild card. I see it as a glass half empty that has been shrinking since opening day, with the red flags completely glaring. Now, we obviously have more stuff that we do need to get into of what has been going on the field. But I do want to get into something positive first. so we can just get the positivity out of the way because, you got to do the worst stuff first. But there was something that happened during this series that was very awesome to see as a Mets fan. Obviously, in the middle of this team completely falling apart right now, it seems a little anticlimactic, but I think it is a very special thing that did happen for, a homegrown Met. And that is obviously Pete Alonso surpassing Darryl Strawberry for the home run record, the most home runs in New York Mets history. And, Pete Alonso, this is in his year 7. We didn't even know if this was going to happen come off season. But now you look at this leaderboard and you have yourself a new Power King of Queens as Pete Alonso breaks the Mets all-time home run record. Him standing alone at number 1. He hit 2 home runs in that night, so now he's two ahead of Darryl Strawberry, who was at 252. You got right there, of course, Piazza, Howard Johnson as well at 192. Dave Kingman, as we all know, that gave Kingman pop-ups of 154. You've got Beltran at 149, and then at 8 you have someone who it's basically just a loss, basically just a lost cause of something that I was not able to, the one that got away that I was not able to hold over Frank's head. Of that guy passing the guy.
You just had to stop at 8. You couldn't go to 10. You just had to make sure just fit.
Hey, it's what
fit.
Just enough. It's what fit. Right, that wasn't my. Yeah. That's what fit. That was just. I guess that's just a happy accident. But either way, to show you guys just how prolific Pete Alonso has been throughout his entire career with the bat, just in home runs sense, because obviously there's been other records that he has broken, especially with him being 3rd all time on the runs batted in list for the Mets franchise. But we all know that he currently holds the record for the most home runs ever hit by a rookie. That was in 2019, 53. He is the 2nd fastest player in baseball history to surpass 100 career home runs, that being Ryan Howard. The first fastest, he's the 4th fastest in MLB history to surpass 200 career home runs, that with Ryan Howard, Aaron Judge, and Ralph Kiner. He also currently holds the record for the most multi-home run games in Mets franchise history with 23. He also leads the National League since the start of 2019 for home runs in high leverage situations, which is 19. So that's just home runs. That has nothing to do with any of these clutch hits or anything. So 19 in high leverage. So he definitely has come through for this team with a lot of these meaningful home runs. But again, this is one of the most prolific hitters in the game, and he has been for 7 seasons for this team. It was very possible that he probably could have broken the record a little bit earlier if it wasn't for that shortened 2020 season that he did have. But Pete Alonso comes back, gets re-signed, obviously, towards the end of the offseason, and he breaks the record. And again, that's 254. He now stands alone, the most home runs in Mets history. I believe he's also one of the 4 players that are active that lead a franchise in their home runs. I believe it's Giancarlo Stanton on the Marlins, who hasn't even played there for years now. Mike Trout is with the Angels, obviously, all time. And then there was another one, which got to be somebody else. I don't know.
Would it be just
I think I'm blanking here. No, probably not. I think a guy named Babe Ruth is probably higher than him.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Guys,
somebody will let me know. I don't know. Machado with the Padres. There you go. Okay, so that's the other one. So again, obviously the Mets not in a good shape right now. So it wasn't something that everybody wanted to completely celebrate. But again, Pete Alonso, he has been a part of this team since 2016, part of this organization since 2016, came up in 2019, obviously got on the map in 2019 with a historic rookie year. And now he stands alone in the Mets record books. And I think that it's very, it is important to point out because, again, this is the Mets have not had many homegrown prolific bats. You had Wright, you had Strawberry, And now I think that just brings it over to Alonso. Like, that's pretty much it. You haven't had many. This has been a pitcher's franchise. The Mets have not had a lot of guys stay here for their entire career either. And that still seems to be up in the air with Pete Alonso. But however, congratulations to Pete Alonso, obviously, for breaking the all-time record, the most home runs in Mets history. How many will it be at the end of his Mets career? We don't know. We'll see. But Frank, I think we can agree here that, this is one of the most prolific hitters in this game this year. And, he's definitely been one of the few success stories in Mets history of guys who've been drafted, have come up and succeeded the way that he has.
I mean, no doubt. I mean, he's definitely, and like I said, it's been a while. It wasn't just like, he had like this great rookie year, and then we didn't see him like be really successful afterwards. And he's been huge for this team. I mean, the difference just this year compared to last year alone, I mean, he has 11 more RBIs in like 40 less games. I mean, just there's one stat for it. I know last year he didn't have Juan Soto from with a high on base percentage, drawing a ton of walks, but still, just looking at when he does have those runners on, how successful he's been. And like you mentioned, all the times he's bailed them out, even if it's not a home run, but just the other hits that he's gotten along the way, they've all been crucial for this team. And it's like to think that we had talked a lot. I mean, a lot of the offseason about, we'll just put Vientos at first. Like if they did that, I mean, we talk about how much the team is struggling now and then potentially missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like if they did that, they for sure are not making the playoffs. So I do think that has got to factor in to the discussions this offseason. And I'm really hoping that a decision to keep Pete Alonso will happen much faster this offseason than it did last offseason. Because last offseason, with the way he played, you had a discussion a little bit like, maybe there's some other things we could look at, maybe make the team fit a little better overall, like put guys where they're supposed to be and just have, better defense, all those things that we talked about, maybe allocate the money in different areas. But now you just see, like, if you don't have this guy, I mean, you're in a lot of trouble because there certainly is a lack of power in some other departments. And I do think that there has been a change to his approach and a lot of these other Met hitter approaches of just going the way they attack baseball is a little differently. I mean, I feel like Pete Alonso's used a lot of right center this season. And just overall, like, even though he hit this home run and he passed Dale Strawberry, it's still not the greatest home run season for Pete Alonso. Like, he's still capable of more, because we look at another guy in his division like Kyle Schwarber, who has like over 40 home runs, and you see Pete at only 28. It's like,
I talked about this last week.
It's like something doesn't quite match up right there. It just feels like he should have more. Like Juan Soto, he's a 40 home run bat, but he's not there yet. He's at 29. Like it just feels like a lot of guys, and the catcher as well, Mark Vientos. Like there's a lot of guys here who generally have power, but they haven't been able to really showcase it. And like we've said, the approach of, fastball down the middle, take it to the opposite field. There are certain guys like a Pete Alonso who could get away with it because they have such like elite, like top of the top power, so they could do it. But it's not a mindset for everyone. It's not something that all the players can do. So it's like just because a hitting coach might think that this is the best way to do it, again, you have to just go based on personnel. So Pete Alonso, he's been able to make the most of it. He got his batting average up. He's having one of his better seasons. Even if it's not in the home run department, just pure offense, he's been able to be really good.
Yes.
But it doesn't work for everybody. So I think that's something to keep in mind too, is that like this is a very good season for him, but it's a good season in a different way. And he's still able to have that power. So, I mean, that's something that I like as well.
Yeah, it's become a point of, that this team can be better, and that's the thing. We know what they are capable of, but I always just feel like there is a point of where this team always leaves us wanting more. And obviously when you talk about, him with 254 career home runs, we know that he has 5 in the postseason in such little time. I'm pretty sure he has 2 postseason runs. He had 4 in the postseason. Obviously, that one big one in Milwaukee. I mean, he has had quite a lot of moments, and he's definitely built up a tab to where do the Mets go long term. I think that as of right now, where we're looking at the inconsistency of this offense, I've talked about it. We talked about it during the offseason of the type of season that he had of a career down year in 2024. And, that kind of factored into what we were talking about. But now it's like, okay, well, he's proving that, maybe this offense is just nothing without him right now. And that's the thing as to why I feel like there's going to be a little bit more of a push to bring back Pete as compared to what it was last offseason. Now, they did ask him about his future long term, and he was very public about it. And he said that, he wants to play through his age 40 season. He wants it to be in the orange and blue. And he said that, that's up to David and Steve. So he's publicly saying that I want to be here. Lock me down long term. So we'll see what happens there. I'm very, very interested to see how this offseason is a little bit different from last year because of that, coming off of the prolific year that he is, prolific career that he has had. And obviously, we all know that this fan base really, he means a lot to this fan base. We know he does. And, we'll see how that goes in the future. I'm very interested to see. But, I'm all for guys getting exactly what they deserve, whether it's in money or, whether it's in what they deserve for their actions. I'm all for that. And, Alonso last year, it wasn't the best. And we talked about it. He wasn't deserving of that long-term contract. This year, he's flipping the script this year. And, if he were to continue to play like that and what he would be able to provide, maybe with a different hitting coach that, allows him to maximize the amazing power that he has. But again, 30 years old right now, we'll see what happens in the lower half of his career. But obviously we know he's, someone that is very important to, he's very important to Mets fans. He became a fan favorite instantly, not just because of, how well he did in his rookie year, because of the personality in general of, just the way that he presents himself in this very goofball sense of humor. Let's just say that. But none of it is in basically the harmless way. Let's just say that. He may be a doofus, but he's our doofus, and he's been our doofus for 7 years now. So we'll see what happens going forward. I'm happy for Pete Alonso that he finally is able to, be enshrined into the Mets leaderboards. And we all know that, he's building himself quite a career, whether it is in Mets history or baseball history, because he is definitely, he's definitely done quite a lot so far. From the jump. Usually you see guys, maybe late bloom, but from the jump, he was as legit as advertised, especially his power was very legit as advertised. And again, like you said, I always feel like there could be more. I always do, because I feel like you look at some of his seasons of the paces, 40 home run paces a lot, things like that. But, I feel like there still is a capability of hitting 50 home runs. The fact that he is at 28 home runs, he has some of the best batted ball data of his career right now. Like, if you want to just go straight to Baseball Savant, I said this last episode, this guy is top 5%, top 10% in nearly every single batted ball category, and he has 28 home runs. So again, I think that there's a lot more that can be left there to desired. I want to see him maximize that. Can that be done with this certain hitting coach here? No. And it's going to be probably disappointing. But what isn't disappointing has been, obviously, overall Pete Alonso's Mets career. And let's see where it takes us. And hopefully he can, help wake up this team somewhat. And speaking of waking up this team, let's actually get into this series that the Mets just played against this Braves team. If there's anything else you want to add about this, because again, it's a big moment for Mets fans, but I think that it kind of just has to be glossed over right now because of the current situation they're in. But good for Pete. Happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think they'd make as big a thing as they did, but I'm glad they did. I mean, I thought, it's a cool moment. Like, he passes down Strawberry, but then like to see them completely stop the game, and it wasn't like a huge baseball record. It was also a big Mets record. And I wonder if this was an away game, if they would have did like this whole little thing where they stopped the game, like the whole team is coming out there, everyone's getting a hug, like I was like, oh, we're doing all this like now, this early in the game. Oh, okay. And then like, all right, well, this is gonna be a nice game for the Mets. Then they blow the lead, and we're like, oh my gosh, they're gonna ruin like this whole thing. Then you kind of get it going again. So it was just a wild night, like a mix of
Yeah.
emotions for sure. Just that's how a lot of these games have been lately. So I'm glad they were able to win. He has the moment he did at home. So I mean, all that was good to see.
Yeah, the timing definitely came well. Obviously, the reception for it afterwards, it got delayed by a rain delay or something, so they did
Yes.
it in
Yep.
the final of the game. But I'm glad that Gary was able to get the call. I'm glad that it was at Citi Field because Mets fans they at least deserve to see their fan favorite break a franchise record, especially for a franchise that has not really had that many prolific hitters or really developed many prolific hitters. Now, speaking of a product of this team's development and coaching, let's get into the Mets versus the Braves and this series. Now, to run this one down, obviously, another series loss, crashing and burning once again. But anyways, let's start off with game one. And obviously, Clay Holmes would make the start and struggled to provide length. Once again, what else is new? Coughing up a 4-run lead in the fourth inning, loading the bases with one out and surrendering a 2-run double to Nacho Alvarez, a game-tying RBI double to Matt Olson, getting pulled for Gregory Soto, who would strand the inherited runners to keep the game tied and close the book on Holmes. 3-2. Man, I can't even say it because that's how unordinary this is. 3 2/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts on 85 pitches, down 1-0 in the second after a leadoff double by Pete Alonso. Cedric Mullins would tie the game with an RBI single, and Francisco Alvarez would launch his 5th home run of the year to give the Mets a 3-1 lead. The Mets would add on in the third. Pete Alonso would slash a 2-run homer, his 27th of the year, and his 253rd of his career to pass Darryl Strawberry for the most home runs in Mets franchise history, giving the Mets a 5-1 lead. With the game tied at 5 after Holmes' exit, the Mets offense would respond immediately after a two-out infield single by Francisco Lindor and a walk to Juan Soto. Brandon Nimmo would scorch a 3-run homer, his 20th of the year, putting up an 8 spot against Spencer Strider in total for the Mets offense. Gregory Soto would come back out for the 5th and toss a scoreless inning, working around two one-out singles. The Mets would continue to pile it on after a 2-out double by Cedric Mullins. Francisco Alvarez would trade places with him with an RBI double to make it 9-5 Mets. Brett Beatty would add on with an RBI single to make it 10-5 Mets. In the 6th, Pete Alonso would hit his second home run of the night, his 28th of the year, making it 11-5. In the 7th, Francisco Alvarez would launch his second home run of the night and his 6th of the year to make it 12-5. And Brett Beatty would follow him with a home run of his own, his 13th of the year, giving the Mets an 8-run lead. Justin Hageman would come on to pitch the 6th and finish the game in long relief, tossing 4 innings pitched, no hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts on 55 pitches, snapping the Mets' 7-game losing streak with a laugher win in Game 1, 13-5. In Game 2, the Mets would beat up former Met Carlos Carrasco in the first 2 innings after a leadoff double by Francisco Lindor, walks to Juan Soto and Brandon Nimmo to load the bases. Pete Alonso would get the Mets on the board with a 2-run single, following a 2-out walk by Starling Marte to reload the bases. Cedric Mullins would make it 3-0 on a sacrifice fly. In the second, following a 1-out single by Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto would launch his 29th home run of the year. Brandon Nimmo would follow it up with a double, and Jeff McNeil would trade places with him with an RBI double to extend the Mets' lead to 6-0. However, after 3 solid innings, the Mets' lone volume arm, David Peterson, would implode like the others. 4 walks and 2 hits in the inning, only getting 1 out. The Mets would pull him for Reed Garrett, who made it even worse, allowing inherited runners to score, walking a batter of his own and surrendering a grand slam to Michael Harris to complete a 9-run fourth inning for Atlanta and erase a 6-0 Mets lead. Peterson would end his day with 3 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts on 80 pitches. Paul Blackburn would make his return from the injured list and pitch the rest of the game in long relief, tossing 5 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts on 61 pitches. The Mets offense would do nothing else after Pete Alonso would be thrown out at home in the 4th inning by Eli White, and Juan Soto would strike out as the tying run at the plate in the 5th to end a gut-wrenching loss in Game 2 to even the series 11-6. And in Game 3, Kodai Senga would make the start and was much sharper this time around, surrendering a solo home run in the 4th inning and running into some trouble in the 6th after a leadoff walk and a 2-out single to make it 1st to 3rd. Tyler Rogers would come in and allow the runner from 3rd to score before finishing the inning to close the book on Senga. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts on 93 pitches. The Mets would open the scoring in this game in the 3rd thanks to Francisco Lindor's 22nd home run of the year. Fast forward all the way to the 6th, down 2-1. The Mets would respond with a 1-out single by Francisco Lindor. He'd steal second base and advance to 3rd on a throwing error. Juan Soto would walk to set up Brandon Nimmo to tie the game on a sacrifice fly. Pete Alonso would give the Mets the lead after Juan Soto would steal second base with an RBI single, his 99th RBI of the season, putting the Mets in front 3-2. Tyler Rogers would come back out for the 7th and toss a scoreless inning. However, Ryan Helsley would get the 8th, and he'd struggle mightily, surrendering a 1-out walk and back-to-back RBI doubles to Marcelo Zuna and Ozzie Albies, putting Atlanta in front. Edwin Diaz would toss a 1-2-3 ninth with a strikeout, but the Mets offense would go silent in the final innings to drop the series finale, and 2 out of 3 to Atlanta, 4-3. The Mets are now 64-57 on the season. They have now lost 13 of their last 15 games, sitting 5 games behind the Phillies for first place in the National League East, and only just holding a half a game lead on the Reds for the final National League wild card spot. Again, we said it from the top of the show. I don't see how this can possibly get worse, and it just keeps getting worse. I don't even know where to start. Frank, and I feel like you kind of have the same feeling. I mean, just another disaster, disheartening, gut-wrenching series that was just basically unwatchable and disgusting from inning to inning.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of disgustingness for sure. And I mean, really, the second game is the one that stands out the most because when you see the other team score 13 runs, and it's just really frustrating, especially when, like we said, like David Peterson was their ace. I mean, here's their all-star, so to speak, and he couldn't get the job done. And they had been relying on him a lot because no one else could go more than 5 innings, and he was giving you 6 innings. And then, like we said, they couldn't go 4 innings. So like, oh, well, at least we got Peterson. We should be in good shape. We won game 1. We're up 6-0 in game 2. Like, you feel like you're in good shape. And it's just very surprising to me that when he's up 6-0 is the start that he would struggle with that many walks, because those are the times where you definitely should not be walking batters, because in that kind of situation, the only way they're going to get back into the game is if you let them back in the game. And when you're giving this many free passes, then this is what's going to happen, especially when you're also walking like the bottom of the order. That's another thing that's been very frustrating, like this whole past week, is like walking the bottom of the order, giving up hits and home runs to guys batting below 200. Like, I mean, Nacho Alvarez, do you hear the stat the other day? Nacho Alvarez got like the first RBI of his career, and this is his second season playing. Like, what is going on here? I mean, it's just like the guys that should not be beating you are the ones that are beating you. Sounds about right, to
be honest.
I know it does, but it's like you just can't make some of this stuff up. Like, it's just absolute craziness. And to see David Pearson walk that many guys, like, that was crazy. So you're like, okay, well, we'll go to Reed Garrett in the 4th inning. And I feel like this has to be the first time Reed's thrown in the 4th. and he was also a disaster. I mean, he gives up a ton of runs, and he's not been good lately. I mean, he's another one where it's just been like outing after outing after outing has been bad. But of course, Paul Blackburn is shut down. Like what? I mean, like how? I mean, it's just so strange to me that a lot of times we're seeing this where the long relievers are pitching much better than the starting pitcher. So that was another thing that happened game one where you had Warren come in, or you have Hagenman come in another game, and these guys are just like pitching awesome, and the starting pitcher can't get out of the fourth inning. And it's just like same thing with Clay Holmes. It's like outing after outing, we're seeing him struggle. So it's like, okay, well, you want to blame Montas. You take him out of the rotation. You put McLean in there. But it's like, oh, well, now what are we going to do for Holmes? I mean, are you going to call him Sproke too while you're at it? And then if you have another starting pitcher struggle, you want to call him Jonah Tong? Like, I mean, you want the young kids to save the day now because all these starters can't do their job? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So it just feels like when you have an inning where you're giving up 9 runs, and it's like I've talked about it before, but sometimes waiting too long to pull the plug. Like after you've seen 5 hits, you've seen 5 walks. It's like, how much more do you need to see? Especially when like you just had the bullpen save innings for you the day before, and you had a day off right before that. So it's just like, how are you just like, oh, you know what? Oh, Pearson will figure it out. Like he doesn't have it today. Take him out. And like you could have just avoided all this damage much sooner. It's like, don't let a 6-0 lead totally slip away. So I mean, that was just really frustrating for me. So it's like, Reed Garrett has an option. Do you send him down? And like it's just so hard. I mean, it just feels that you keep, again, come with the lineup, but keep shuffling around all these different pitchers, yet still having the same outcomes. So we'll see what happens. I just think that for Montas, for him to already be in the bullpen, it's a really bad sign just for how that contract's going to go. Like he's a multi-year deal. So like you might have solved it this season by putting Montas into the bullpen, but going into next season, if the plan is that he's going to be a reliever, like that's a disaster. Like you are just going into next season already knowing that you have at least one disaster. And if Clay Holmes can't make it through this season in the rotation, you have to move him into the bullpen. Is he going to be able to be in the starting rotation full-time next year either? Because that's another guy who's opting in because of a multi-year deal. So, I mean, it's just things like this. And, these guys, I mean, volume has been an issue, no doubt. But just in general, they have not been pitching well. So I don't think that just moving certain guys from rotation over to the bullpen is also going to be like this automatic fix, because like what situation would you even want to bring Montas into a game from the bullpen? It's like if it's a six, like Carson, if it's the 6th inning and it's like a 1-run game or a tied game, you want to go to Montas? I don't.
Oh, I was thinking like backup closer for Diaz, because obviously we need a replacement for Ryan Helsley.
Yeah, because Helsley's been struggling. So again, like you're just shuffling the deck, but eventually you're still gonna get that bad card. You know what I mean? Like you could play a different card now and save it for later, but eventually you're gonna play that bad one. And what's gonna happen when you get up to that situation? So a lot of these times it just feels like they're kind of avoiding the inevitable. It's like, oh well, we'll just try to patch this up, but eventually it just all shows up because you have to use these guys at some point. So it's just like, well, what is the scenario that you're going to use them? And, that's just a whole separate issue. It affects them for us this season, but also next season too. I mean, like you have to hope that the young guys come through, because if they don't, it's not going to be your veterans that you signed in the offseason. So they've got to figure it out one way or another. The hitting, as we know, is a whole other issue of itself. Hopefully that's more fixable with a coaching change, a hitting coach change to be specific. But as far as the pitching, I mean, there are a lot of issues there too. I mean, just for them to be one of the leaders in walks, you don't want that. Again. I mean, we talked about this. This is what we talked about last year all the time, and it was the epitome of the game you went to against Oakland. They were Oakland at the time. Jose Quintana, he walked like 6 guys, and it was just like, how many foul balls were there? 100 foul balls.
Walked like 13 batters in that game.
Yeah, and we just flipped out. We were like, I mean, this is ridiculous. How are you walking this many guys? Everybody in this team has a bad walk rate. And then we thought they fixed it this year, and it's back in full effect. So, I mean, it's just like to not have improvement, to not address the issues that were these areas that were struggles. It's just so frustrating. Like we're talking about the same stuff now 2 seasons in a row from this pitching staff. It is just so frustrating. And they changed a lot of personnel because even though Quintana had that disaster start against the Athletics, he's not here anymore. And now we all want him back. Now all Met fans wish for him back. When we used to complain about Quintana, laboring his way through 5 innings.
Yeah.
We died for 5 innings now. It's just so crazy to see how these kind of things change where you're like, oh, well, don't worry, we'll find a replacement. And the replacement is way worse, and he's in the bullpen already. It's a very tough spot they're in right now.
That's another part of just plugging in these statistics. I really just don't think there really is an answer, but that's the problem. It really comes to me as to developing your own pitching. And I'm hoping that that's something that does improve down the line, and we will see that first part on Saturday. But the fact is that, the guys that they bring in here, Montas, I'm done with that. Clay Holmes, I think that they're gonna continue to stick it out, even if they do make the postseason. He probably will end up being in the bullpen. He's not going to get a playoff start whatsoever, unless this gets to an even worse extreme where, he's just completely struggling to, even, if there's something of quality where he can't give you quantity, even though he has struggled to do that many times this year. I don't know where they go from here. I think the most questionable part of this rotation, I think, was more of just the end of this season where they kind of are ramping these guys up while they're in the majors, which I think was a little bit more detrimental than a lot of people are saying. But I do want to get into this rotation of some of the things that we have been seeing, and then we'll break down some other things from this series. But it only folds to exactly what has been going on over this past week or these past few months as well with this starting rotation as compared to what it was at the beginning. It is a completely different story, and it's not even just the fact that the quality, like you said, they weren't pitching fantastic. But also, they're getting no length whatsoever since June 1st. They have had 24 of these starts since June 1st where they can't get out of the 5th inning, is less than 5 innings pitched. And also 46 of these 63 starts, which is 63 games, without pitching into the 6th inning. So again, you're getting no length night in, night out. It's not even just one guy who's struggling or 2 guys that are struggling to give you length. The entire rotation has had plenty of these shortcomings multiple times since June 1st. You look at the monthly ranks, the first 2 months, the Mets obviously still didn't get a decent amount of volume, but the bullpen was doing fantastic. They were top 10 in strikeout rate. They were second in ERA. They were 4th in fielding independent pitching. They still don't really give up as many home runs as they were, but they still are. I mean, they were top 10 in plenty of categories, allowing a decent amount of base runners still. June, July, August, it just keeps getting worse. In August right now, they are 30th in innings pitched. Shocking. They are 30th in walk rate. They're the league worst. 29th in earned run average. They are 26th in whip. They are 22nd in fielding independent pitching. Win probability added, which is play by play. They are 28th. Wins above replacement. They are 22nd, which has been this past August, which is halfway through, but it's basically just declined into nothing. And I think we all have basically said that even though the walks didn't seem to be as big of a problem as last year, it still seems to be reeling its ugly head now. Because obviously, even in April or May, like we were saying, when they weren't playing great baseball but had this great win-loss record, one of the factors was also the pitching, allowing a lot of base runners. 22nd in whip, 27th in walk rate. even while everything was going fantastic, and they were basically top 5 in nearly every category, and they were shocking the world with everyone saying that this rotation has completely overperformed. Well, they definitely overperformed in those first 2 months. These last 3 months, last 2.5 months have been a complete nightmare. However, it is basically unfathomable that, to be honest, by probability, one of these pitchers may, I don't know, maybe luck into pitching 5 innings. But no, it seems like pretty much 4 out of every 5 nights, these guys are struggling to get out of the 5th inning. And even though maybe we can talk about, like I said, these guys ramping up like Senga or Minaya, I mean, they've had a decent amount of starts now. I don't know how many times we can make these excuses. Senga was probably the best start they have had in the past few weeks. I mean, it's just completely fallen apart. And that's the only thing as to why this becomes even more of a concern, because your biggest volume arm just blew up in this series. He completely blew up and basically just blended into the slop. The guy who was a first-time All-Star in David Peterson, the guy who was the only guy providing you innings, the only guy that basically looks like he's going to pass 150 innings this year with ease. And even he faltered. And it basically aided one of the ugliest losses I think anybody has seen in Mets history, where they were up 6-0 and allowed 9 runs in the 4th inning. So this rotation is a mess right now. They're a complete mess. And even though we know that people said that this was going to be possibly an issue, this might be a concern, did anybody expect it to be this bad? Where these guys are sweating to get out of the 4th inning? I don't think anybody expected it to be this bad. This is just unfathomable. I've never seen something like this. Like I said, Frank, remember in that comparison like I just did, 2023. That rotation struggled to give us length, but they sprinkled in some decent, some decent outings. This is every single night. Every night. Every single night, this rotation is struggling to get out of the 4th inning or out of the 5th inning. No super bullpen can save that. No super bullpen can do it.
Well, the bullpen
and they haven't.
Wasn't even that super to begin with. I mean, a lot of these guys have not been lights out, so I mean that hasn't helped. But I think as far as the rotation, there's some surprises in there, sure, but not all of it is surprising. I mean, I've said it from the beginning, but when you go into the season saying, listen, Clay Holmes in the rotation is an experiment. If it doesn't go well, we'll just move him into the bullpen. If you're doing an experiment, you know that it either could go bad or it could go good. I mean, you had to be prepared for either outcome. For Montas to be struggling, I mean, to me, it could be a simple approach, but if he was on the Brewers last year and the Brewers couldn't fix him, what in the world makes you think that you could fix him? Because, I mean, that's kind of one of those things where it's like, if they weren't able to make the necessary adjustments and tweaks to get him going, then I wouldn't want to touch that, because, again, that's kind of another experiment. Like, this kind of been my complaint, is that you didn't need necessarily to get an ace. If you got an ace, great. But if you don't get an ace, at least get someone consistent, someone who's consistently good. They didn't do that. I mean, both of these guys were total experiments. And then even Sean Manaea, I mean, you're relying on a guy who had a strong second half after struggling earlier in his career. Plus, he admitted to you that his health was not great at the end of the season. Like, his arm was about to give up. And you're like, oh, well, if his arm is kind of tired, let's give him 3 years. And then immediately he has an injury, not arm related, but still with the change of delivery, more susceptible to injury potentially, and sure enough, a different injury. So, and even Senga, like, multiple injuries last year. So it's like there was risk involved in this rotation.
There was.
Like there's a scenario where it goes bad. Is it, like you said, ranked number 30 as far as, innings pitched? No, I don't think anyone could have predicted that part of it. But just overall, for certain guys to be struggling and having injuries, and that, like you said, having a big impact where you have guys trying to work their way back, build their arms up in the major leagues in the middle of the season. not ideal, leads to overworking the bullpen. Okay, I mean, sure, that could happen. Griffin Cannon going out for the season. I mean, I had mixed feelings about him too. Again, like if the guy was one of the worst pitchers in the league last year, I
I'm
can't say,
begging for
oh,
him back.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
begging
But
for him.
I know, but I can't say, oh, that's why I'm on the guy who's the worst. I just can't say that's high on my priority list. McGill being injured, not a surprise. But what I think more so frustrated me is that we knew about the Manaea and Montas injuries like right away. I mean, we talked about it.
Yeah.
They touched down into Port St. Lucie, and both guys were injured immediately. And the reaction was nothing. I mean, it's like then you had Senga go down, no moves. Like it just felt like there were these red flags, there were these warning signs of guys getting injured, and it's like, oh well, since we're losing some arms, maybe we should add some arms so we can kind of maintain or at least be covered in case these guys don't come back. And they just did absolutely nothing. They just said, these are the guys who signed the offseason, and these are the ones we're going to use. Oh well. And that has not worked. I mean, we talked about it at the deadline. Like, listen, we've seen Montas struggle, we've seen Holmes struggle. At least get some starting pitcher. I know a lot of pitchers didn't get moved, but maybe try to get somebody. Nothing, like just the whole we see an issue, but we're not going to address it at all. Definitely is concerning. And then right away, I mean, like within a week of the trade deadline, Montas is out of the rotation. And like we've said, if you feel great about Nolan, if you feel great about Sproat, if you feel great about Tong, great. I mean, that's awesome that you have these guys who they're top 50 prospects in baseball, some of them, and there's high expectations. They got great stuff. That's wonderful. But prospects are not guarantees, and we know that. So again, it's still a risk to me. You can't say, well, if Montas still struggles, if Holmes still struggles, oh, we'll just call up the prospects. You can't bank on prospects when you have World Series aspirations. You just can't do it. It is too risky, and you know what? We'll see if it is going to pay off. Like we said, it's not going to save anything. Like it'll be better than Montas, but it's not going to fix everything. It's not going to be like, oh, well, now we're ready to make that deep playoff run that we spent all this money for. Like that's not going to happen. So it should improve with some stuff, but there still are many other issues that are going on right now.
Yeah, that's the kind of passive aggressive type of thing that I think a lot of Mets fans are guilty of, where they see Noel McLean have a great start in AAA and they'll say, but it's okay, we have Montas. Again, like that's not going to fix anything. That isn't going to fix anything. He still is a pitcher. There still is, development he's got to go through. And, I'm not going to say that Noel McLean is going to just completely save this team. If he ends up saving this team, by all means, grant him the savior, but he's not going to. It's not going to happen. Brandon Sproat's not going to save this team. Jonah Tong's not pitching for the major league team this year. So again, when people say, oh, this is the quick fix, call them up, it was literally going to be the same type of situation where they were going to be on an innings limit. They were going to give you 5 innings. There was going to be nobody that gave you volume.
Yeah, so for all the people who are like, oh, call up Tong, call up Sproat, like, what happened with Christian Scott last year is a very high possibility of what happened with these guys. It's an innings limit. It's 5 innings. And it's adjustments. It's growing pains.
I think it's the vision. Like I said this last week where I talked a little bit about Sproat and McLean of their timeline. Obviously, they announced that McLean's going to make his debut this week. But I said this last week. I said, I think there's a lot of Mets fans who have this vision of 10 years ago when Harvey, Syndergaard, and all these guys made this instant impact for the team and became all of these studded players. It's so different now. Like this, it's so different how these guys develop. It's not that like, oh, well, there's a different talent. These guys are they don't make them like these guys anymore. No, it's because the acceleration of the game is higher than it was in 10 years ago. It's a lot different. I mean, it's a different game than it was 10 years ago. It's not the same. There's, guys who hit the ball harder than they ever have. It's a power-driven game. And, there's a lot of guys who chase velocity. There's a lot of guys that need velocity in order to be good. So, again, there's been plenty of these situations where, again, I've never been one to be like, okay, let's just completely commit to pitching. But they needed one. They needed a volume arm. They needed to get a volume arm who can give you innings, who can be healthy and dependable. Someone. It didn't have to be something completely flashy. We talked about Mitch Keller before. That was somebody that we have talked about. But for some reason, they just did not go for it. And that's why I was a little bit disappointed. But if they have this whole trust in these young guys coming through, which, again, I'm not going to sit here and bank on that because prospects are not part of a depth chart. They aren't. They're organizational depth. They're not major league depth. So you can't just plug these guys in whenever. This isn't like the NFL draft where you can draft somebody and then put them right into your lineup. This is a lot different. So again, I hope that Noel McLean pans out. We hope that he does, because if he does, then again, we'll be in a much better spot with this rotation. We'll be in a much better spot. He's controllable. He'll be making, league minimum. He'll be in pre-arb. That's what you want. But is it going to happen? Who knows? And having to bet on that in the middle of a playoff race, it's not going to change anything. It isn't. It's not going to change anything.
It reminds me of, I think it was also 2023. Remember when they called up like Alvarez and Mauricio and like Beatty and all these guys, like super, if he had just like, they called them all up super late in the season, like hoping they could like fix the offense and give them a boost, and it didn't happen. Like, I mean, they've called them up a little earlier here, but I kind of get like the same feeling that they didn't need to do what they do at the deadline. So they just call up the young guys, like, oh, they'll just fix it. Like it doesn't work like that. Like there is an adjustment period. There is like initial struggles that happen with young players. Like that's part of it. At some point, are these guys going to be really good in the rotation? Probably. But for them to just do it right away is really asking a lot. Like you said, just do it in the middle of the playoff race. Like that's not reasonable expectations.
I mean, it's just not possible. And if Noel McLean goes out there on Saturday and gets completely shelled, you should there's no reason you should be shocked. There really shouldn't be a shocking factor of this is, and yes, he has definitely shown that he is a legitimate pitching prospect, and maybe he can give you a little bit more of advance. I do think that he is a better pitching prospect than Christian Scott was, but again, asking for him to save the day when he's going to be making an impact on the team every 5 days. So if you want to clone him for 4 more guys to fill the rotation with him, get back to me when you do that. But again, it's just you can't ask for them to fix any of this either way. But I mean, just a complete disaster on this front of the starting pitching. Like we said, Kodai Senga finally showed somewhat of Kodai Senga-ness. Let's just say that yesterday we saw, Frankie Montas is a complete disaster. I don't even know why the guy is even on this team anymore, to be honest. I legitimately would voluntarily buy him out. I'd pay him double to leave because he's actually that terrible. Clay Holmes, obviously, the effects of him being a first-time starter, it's definitely showing, and it's starting to see maybe is he running out of gas? Can he handle this? We'll see. And if not, you'll just have an expensive reliever. Griffin Canning going down was definitely a hit because, it was obviously just another arm that can make starts. David Peterson has had a few rough starts, but again, he's been the most consistent out of all of them. But even he went down in this series, and it was just completely brutal. I mean, who's going to help? McGill? Is McGill going to help? Who exactly is going to help? And that's another thing of revisionist history here. And this is another comment that I'll bring up. MEZ saying this fan base is all of Stearns right now because of how he handled the starting pitching and how he mishandled third base. Well, again, third base, different conversation. But with starting pitching, who exactly were we going to get? Who exactly were we going to get that would have fixed this? Because again, I'm looking at all the options of everybody that has been screaming at the top of their lungs. Bringing back Jose Quintana, he's pitched less innings this year than anybody in this rotation besides maybe Canning because he's hurt.
He started the season late too.
Yeah, and he's still guaranteed every night 4 or 5 innings. So would that have helped? I don't think that would have helped as much. Everyone says, well, we should have went for the big guys. Snell and Burns. Burns is out with Tommy John. Snell has pitched 19 innings this year. It's I just don't see any solution. And that's why I always say it's like, well, starting rotations don't exist anymore. However, there comes to a point where it's like, okay, someone is going to have to step up. And I don't know, just fucking throw strikes. Throw strikes, please, once. I have no idea how many times specifically these last 2 months, where this pitching staff will get ahead 0-2 and lose the batter. We've also seen plenty that I know, Frank, this drives you nuts. 2-strike count hits the batter. Walking the 9-hole hitter, that's another thing. Pitching away from the shift when you expect them to pull. I mean, there's been plenty of decisions where it hasn't gone completely fluently, obviously. I don't know. I don't see a possibility where anybody is going to be someone that could solve it, and you just need to get a bunch of arms that could possibly solve it. And that's the main reason as to why. That's where I think they failed at this deadline. That's where I do think they failed at this deadline. They needed to get someone to provide them volume. It didn't need to be anything flashy. It wasn't, well, we needed ace, we needed this, we needed that. They needed someone who could actually get into the 6th inning without going into cardiac arrest. That's what they needed. And they didn't do it. And what is that supposed to be? Are you expecting Minaya to just magically do that when he's fully ramped up while you were doing it in the major leagues? Are you expecting Senga to just completely re-grab his footing again? Like, you're asking for a lot that we have not seen with very little time left. That's the concerning part about it. I don't know. It's just, it always seems... It always seems like the Mets are just fighting to get through an inning. It always seems like they're fighting to get through the middle innings a lot. And it's not even just the fact of how bad they are in a certain inning. It's the fact of a lot of these self-inflicted decisions, a lot of these self-inflicted of this team knowing that they had it. That's the problem, where I know that this pitching staff, they're capable of more. Maybe they're not capable of being amazing, but they're capable of a lot more of, I don't know, like I just said, getting ahead 0-2 and just completely losing the batter. Like, it's little stuff like that where you're like, come on, dude. Like, we know that if you really tried, you could throw a strike. We know you could. We've seen it do it for the first 2 pitches. It's like, why does this all just completely disappear? I have no clue. Like, I really don't.
They talked about another stat having to do with throw strikes, that like the Mets are one of the worst as far as getting strike one. That like far too often they just can't even get strike one, so they fall behind in the count.
That's shocking.
And you know what happens? You either walk the batter, or in order to throw a strike, you have to throw right down the middle, and they crush it. Like, far too many times they are in hitters' count. So that's another issue that the pitching has too. It's like they can't even get strike one sometimes, a lot of the times too. One of the worst.
I'm easy saying you like how Stearns handled the starting. No, I understand not wanting to go in for pitching. That's the thing, because it's just there's literally no point. You got to develop your own arms. That's basically it. That's how I say it. I just don't think starting rotations exist anymore. They just don't. They don't. They may exist on paper, but they really just don't. Putting all of the eggs into one basket, it's nearly impossible. You can't tell me that, well, this guy's not going to get injured. Every pitcher does. You can't tell me, oh, this guy is going to guarantee you to write in all these certain amount of innings. Who knows? I mean, nobody knows. And the main reason as to that goes back to the one particular point that we all know. Pitching is not a regular motion. One little tweak and you are done. That's it. And that's another reason as to why bringing up these prospects in development, they're not going to save you. It's not going to save you. They're not going to save you. Don't expect a savior. Don't, I wouldn't expect to just, completely crash out and call Noah McLean a bust if he just, does not have that good of a start on Saturday. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he struggles because it's normal. And I just don't understand why people expect like this is just going to be, oh, well, fantasy baseball plug-in, he's fine. It's not going to happen. He's not going to save you. And if he ends up saving you, I'll eat my words. But it's not going to happen. I can guarantee you it's not going to happen. You don't just see pitchers these days coming up here like Doc Gooden and just throwing complete gas and dominating from the start. Who's the closest to that? Paul Skeens? It's okay. We'll just get Paul Skeens. Simple solution, right? You never know. You just never know where that ever is going to go. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people kind of misinterpret, and they kind of, plug things in well, call this guy up. What is that going to solve? What exactly is that going to solve? And I'm interested to see what we have here with Noel McLean. I'm excited to see what the kid can do, but it's really, really hard to get attached to anybody these days from a position that is the most injured in all of sports. Remember when everyone would say the running back is the most injured out of anyone? It's the pitcher now. The pitcher has overtaken the reins for the most injury-prone position because anything can happen at any single moment. And that's the main reason as to why I never blink an eye. I never blink an eye when a big-time pitcher goes somewhere else. When Burns went to Arizona, when Snell went to LA, all right, cool. Just can never know. Pitching isn't just a complete exact science. If you have good hitters that can hit those pitchers, what the Mets are supposed to, shouldn't be a problem, right? Shouldn't be a problem. Nobody is asking Stearns to sign 3 starting pitchers to long-term deals. Can he sign at least 1 and live with the results? Again, I think it more comes into the factor of the fact that this department breaks and they want to remain flexible in that sort. And we already see these guys even directly to long-term deals, even Sean Manaea, who everyone liked last year, who was really good last year, one of the main reasons as to why they went on that big run. He gets injured. Even guys to 2-year deals, they get injured. There's nothing that you can do to stop it. That's the thing. And when you have it invested into pitching, a position, or starting pitching, a position that plays every single 5 days, is it really worth it in the end? Is it really worth it in the end? That's what I'm saying. You just never know. That's the thing. Pitching's just way too disposable now. That's just kind of how I look at it. Way too disposable. Daniel, what's going on? Let's see if there's anybody in here as we wait for Frank to get back into his natural habitat here. Jay-Z's saying we can still trade for a guy like Joe Ryan in the offseason. I'd give up plenty to get Joe Ryan. But again, rest of the rotation, how does that feel out? I think that's basically how it all really needs to pan out these days as to, who else is going to be these other arms. And I do think that having depth is very important, even though the Mets' depth isn't fantastic and not the greatest of quality. But I think we all know that they're better than this. Game for War saying, I wanted Montgomery, a proven innings aider, and even he's got Tommy John. Yep. It's so unpredictable. It is. Again, that's not going to convince me to say, well, the Mets whiffed not getting this guy. They whiffed for this guy. They whiffed for this guy. Again, it's basically just rolling with the punches, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I mean, I feel like, we all talk about bringing up these guys, like I just said, of they all have there's Mets fans that have this memory of these young guys coming up here and completely being saviors immediately and making an instant impact. But also, do we not forget how that rotation was never healthy together? You know, the five of those guys, they had like one healthy turn throughout the entire rotation, throughout the entire time that all of them were there. That's crazy to think about, isn't it? Crazy to think about. And they needed to get, you know, some reliable arms, guys who can be short-term pieces, who can provide you innings and be dependable. Guys like Pivetta, guys like Evaldi have been talked about. Those are some guys that I felt like they could have shopped in that range, and if they didn't end up getting them, they didn't end up getting them. Again, it's piecing it together. This is a hitter's league now. Even the perfect of pitchers will get tattooed. I just don't think it's that worth it. And I also just think that there's limited options too. I really do. That's just kind of how I feel about it. We need to go get Dick Mountain. I mean, is he available? I don't know. No, I don't think that happens. Emmy's saying, I would have asked about Robbie Ray as the Rogers were negotiating when they were negotiating with the San Francisco Giants. I don't know if Rogers has another year of control, right? So they probably wanted to hold on to him. Was there anything, or not Rogers, Robbie Ray? There's probably some stuff about that. I don't know if was there any rumors about Robbie Ray being moved. Like, that's the thing. It's like not many starting pitchers got moved anyway, and that's that kind of whole thing. I don't know. Was there any Robbie Ray reports about him getting traded? It was very, very limited. We've talked about it with the expanded playoffs. Very different situation. Very, very different situation. Jay-Z saying McLean will be better than Montas. I guarantee it. I can guarantee. I could probably guarantee that too. But who knows? It's also not that hard to do that. It's also not hard to be better than Montas. I think we can all agree. It's pretty easy. I think I could probably pitch a little bit better than Montas did.
Probably.
I probably could have. And I've never pitched in my life. Never have.
I mean, what do you have to go?
That's how confident I am.
Like 3 innings, not give up 5 runs? I mean, that's not the craziest ask in the world.
We've had some position players pitch better than Montas this year. And they were just lobbing that shit in like 60 miles an hour. So... And this is another thing, too, James Dowling saying, fans need to realize that not all free agents would want to go to the Mets. True. Yeah, it's true. You know, some places preferred more. There's been plenty of instances where we've offered more to someone and they went somewhere else. Kevin Gausman.
And it makes sense. I mean, you have the pressure. You're probably going to start walking everybody. And also just in general, like you have a team that now, after the contracts they've locked in, and you know what? There's money every year. There's money coming off the books, but there's more money you got to spend internally if you want to keep certain guys. In this case, Pete Alonso. If you're a team that's already, near the top in salaries, it's like, how much are you really going to spend? Like, you could, but should you? It's like, do you want to? Because it's like, what is $20 million for one team is way more than $20 million for you. So, I mean, that's the other thing that goes along with it too, is that they've already committed to so many other guys who are not stepping up, and is one of the reasons why they're in the situation that they are in, is that they said, okay, because the money we locked in for these players, we should be successful. Those players are not coming through and they're not successful. So like that also changes it too.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think, the Mets have definitely banked on the young players a little bit in the position player category. Obviously, we have not had really any young pitchers this year besides like Blade Tidwell for a few starts. They were expecting, maybe going forward in the future, McLean, Sproat, Tong, like these guys, maybe they do expect them as certain pieces, but they're not going to be, completely ready yet to just make you that instant impact. So again, it takes time, and you're going to have to get some of these innings filled in beforehand. And, guys like Frankie Montas not being able to get out of the fourth inning, or Clay Holmes struggling to get out of the fourth inning, or all these things, that's not going to help. It isn't going to help. And it also isn't going to push the Mets to be like, oh, well, we got to call these guys up now. Like, that's not going to help. It's not going to help the way that I think people think so. So, again, I really hope that Noel McLean works out. I desperately hope, because then we would be in better shape. We would have a controllable piece in this rotation who could be very, very good. I would love to see that happen. But don't be surprised if he tosses 5 scoreless innings and they take him out after 75 pitches. Don't be surprised. I'm telling you. Do not be surprised. They're not going to push him because they need it. His development is the most important thing. And that's what I've been trying to say.
But we'll see.
It should be. Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't want to see him, I don't want to see him going past 100 pitches, on Saturday because we need it. Like,
I know, but we see some weird stuff with the relievers where it's like, if someone gave me a good day and my bullpen's been struggling, he's going to pitch the next day and the next day and the next day. And that's why, like, you have these Met relievers who are like good for a little bit and then they just totally fall off a cliff, because it's like they're so desperate for someone to come through. That's like, as soon as they get success, they just want to keep using that guy over and over.
Yeah. That's happened many, many times before. Many, many, many times before. And we've talked about plenty of guys that they have killed over the years, of guys who probably were never the same after that. I mean, Justin Wilson is one guy that comes to mind from the reliever department, who had a some decent campaign for the Mets.
He got overworked in a shortened season.
He got overworked in a shortened season. Got Tommy John, came back, got injured again. I mean, disaster, complete disaster. And that's why I always say in this category, it's like, it's so disposable at this point. Like that's the thing about this position. And speaking of more pitchers, we'll get to the ones that aren't fully healthy. Frank, I will swing this one over to you for the injury report, which only has 2 players on it. And we also got some news about someone we haven't heard about in a little bit of a while.
But we just talked about him a little while ago, though, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we did. Yay. Mike's yours.
All right, so starting it off with Tylor Megill, Mets starting pitcher, began his minor league rehab assignment for AA Binghamton on Tuesday night, tossing 1 2/3 innings, giving up 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts on 41 pitches. With the amount of necessary rehab outings still to be determined, the 29-year-old right-hander has been on the injury list since mid-June due to a right elbow sprain. Christian Scott, Mets starting pitcher, threw his first bullpen session last week and is progressing well in his rehab. The 26-year-old former top pitching prospect was ruled out for the entire 2025 season after undergoing Tommy John surgery that included an internal brace procedure back in September of last year. So, I mean, just the fact that he's throwing is good news. And you know what? It seems like, he was a top pitching prospect. Though all of a sudden, Sproat really took a step forward, and so did McLean, and so did Tong. So now we kind of forget about Christian Scott a little bit. But, I do hope that everything goes according to plan and he could be somewhat close to what he's capable of, because you have those 4 guys in rotation. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to build around. I mean, and we talk about how expensive starting pitching can be and how like fragile it is. So if you have, like we said, develop your own pitching, controllable starting pitching, if the Mets get that at some point, then it's even more okay to spend a bunch on your lineup. Now, usually when you spend on a lineup, the lineup should be good, but that's a whole other issue. But there is a scenario where having this in place just makes things a lot easier for you to be successful 100%.
Yeah, I wish Christian Scott the best, obviously, because obviously when you're looking at this team of how much they walk guys, and then you look at Christian Scott, who has some of the best command I think I've ever seen from a young guy coming in, and hopefully he can re-grab that. Obviously, we know that getting Tommy John surgery is kind of looked at as more of a good thing long term
It's
as
kind of a
compared to
prerequisite for a lot of
yeah,
pitchers.
you have to get it. It's a
Yeah.
lot less scary that the guy has gotten Tommy John surgery than he hasn't. A guy, Brandon Sproat, is someone that comes to mind who has never gotten Tommy John surgery, which is kind of a little bit fearing. Let's just say that. But again, it's one of those things of it sucks that we didn't get to see him pitch this year, but hopefully we see him here next year, and I'm hoping that we see somebody come out of the woodwork here and come out of nowhere, like some guys who have come out of from injury and came out of nowhere to begin the season, like last year. Max Kranick comes to mind. We remember Danelle Nunez, who was here, ended up undergoing another Tommy John surgery. Guys come out of nowhere, and those are the cost controllable pieces that can definitely help your team to you can fill in more areas. I hope that you have McLean and Sproat and Tong and Christian Scott all pan out. Again, can you count on that? You can't, but you pray. You hope so. You hope that they're all that successful, because then it puts your team in a really good spot. Either way, speaking of guys who are on the major league team right now, let's get to a segment to wrap this entire series up with a bow that's the color of brown for the shit that was on the field, or the shit running down their legs for the past month or two. Studs and duds. One player in this series that was good, one that was not great. The stud category is a little bit thin, but I think we can point out a few. Frank, I'll go to you. Your stud for this series. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we did a whole segment on him, so I'm going to pass on him. I'll give it to Alvarez. I feel like seeing him have a multi-home run game in game one, overall having 3 hits. And now when you look at the season, like he's right behind Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo for OPS plus this season. Like if Francisco Alvarez ends up with a higher OPS plus than Lindor, like something wrong has happened. Like, because with Lindor, we're talking about a guy who was second in MVP voting. So like for Alvarez to be near him, like that's an issue. I mean, that just shows you how much like these guys have fallen off, because if you have a slump, like you're kind of able to make up for it by playing really good in other areas. But we're talking about the total season, that like they've been in this slump for so long that other guys are passing you that shouldn't be. Like that's an issue. But he's been playing well lately. A lot of other guys have not. So I have to give credit to, because he was having a really rough season. I mean, as we know, got sent to the minors, was below league average. So to see that improvement, continued improvement, I think is a great sign. He went opposite field. He pulled one. Like he's been drawing more walks. There's still some ugly at-bats here and there for sure. But overall, there is improvement.
Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting it out until he can get actually someone who has like a decent enough voice that can unlock something and help him out. And him being 23 is the only thing that is promising there. But, it's been better. It was definitely the right decision to send him down to AAA. And he comes back here, and he's definitely been swinging a better bat. So hats off to Francisco Alvarez. He looks a lot sharper than he did at the beginning of the season, where he looked just completely lost on both sides of the ball. And also he's been better defensively as well. So good for him. He's definitely worked on that. We know he is a hard worker, so good to see that pay off, at least towards the end of the season. I'm going to give Justin Hageman his flowers here, because it's been so important to save the bullpen, because the bullpen's been in danger every single night, even though the super bullpen has been kind of underwhelming that they have kind of built here, and they haven't been fantastic. Saving your best weapons when a starter can't go deep into games, that's something that I think is obviously very important. We've seen a lot of these long relief guys be very big keys to this team, and the reason as to why they were winning. We talked about Max Kranick, Huskar Brazaban, Jose Budo at the beginning of the season, giving us multiple innings simultaneously out of the bullpen, and being one of the main reasons as to why that team was winning so many games at the beginning of the year. And, Justin Hageman has had a solid campaign for the Mets. He's obviously pitched more innings than we wanted him to, but he's definitely been good throwing strikes. I mean, that's basically was what it was. He made quick work, and he was able to give us 4 innings in relief. You could also maybe give it to Blackburn, but I really don't want to be honest. Duds. I think we all know what category was a big failure in this series. Frank, you want to take one of the two?
I mean, where do I start? There's so many guys that you can include here. So, if I have to pick one, I think it has to be Peterson. This is a guy that he was kind of our ace by default in a lot of ways, because he's the one who's made it through the season. He was the one who was actually going 6 innings while a lot of these guys couldn't go 4 innings. So I had a set of expectations for him. And when you're up 6-0, like I said before, I expect you to do even better. You don't need to be stressed. You have this lead to work with. You could pitch freely. You could attack batters. But instead, he did the opposite. And then he couldn't even go 4 innings. So it's just it was just a total disappointment. It was regression. It looked a lot more like a David Pearson start from years ago, when you'd always be complaining about him that he walked too many batters. He wasn't giving volume. It just didn't look like the guy that we have been seeing these past 2 seasons that had made so much improvement. He didn't look like that guy.
It looked basically like a David Peterson that was basically, it seemed like death by 1,000 paper cuts there, because again, you're up 6-0. Why are you not throwing strikes? Why are you not throwing strikes to the bottom part of the order? It just was a terrible outing for him. And I'm not gonna sit here and go after him and say that he didn't deserve his all-star appearance. I'm just gonna go out all the way after him, because he has had a good season. He's been the most dependable arm. But when we're starting to see him even break down, then you know that you are definitely in trouble. And he was definitely one of the culprits there, leading up to, obviously.
Another thing too about the rotation is so much in the offseason, and for years we've talked about 6-man rotation. It makes so much sense for Senga. It makes so much sense for all your guys to be healthy. They haven't done it once this season. I know injuries have been a part of it, so why they didn't have the personnel to do it, but they haven't done it once to see if that would help a little bit, help the bullpen, help your other starters recover a little bit. Not even once have they tried, and yet with so many injuries, they just no. Again, it's maybe we should have another arm to do a 6-man rotation. Nope, don't need it. We'll just take what we got.
Yeah, I don't know if that has to do anything with Clay Holmes, where they're just trying to keep him in that 5-day rhythm. But I don't know.
You
Next
feel
day,
he would need it even more.
Yeah,
because he would struggle recovering since he's not used to it. You feel he'd be the one that would really benefit from a 6-man. So I just don't get it. I understand Cannon got hurt, McGill got hurt, but still, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to add and still be able to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. I don't know I don't really know how they're forming this, and it's all kind of blending in at this point. They all these pitchers look alike. Speaking of Clay Holmes, I'll add him to the list there. Another rough outing, obviously. It looks like he's just completely running out of gas. I don't know how long they're going to continue this. I hope that there is a leash that that they finally establish here, but it feels just too late for me. I feel like it's just too late, and they're just going to continue to ride this out every 5 days with him. And with this whole starting pitching whole thing, and Ricardo popping up this comment here. This season
that was
started to
beginning
turn around.
of June. You know what I mean?
Was.
That was beginning of June, and you seeing Holmes kind of struggle. And again, nothing to address it. We're now middle of August, and nothing to address it. Just he's struggling.
Yeah, I don't know. I really am. I'm starting to be a little bit. I'm starting to get lost. I am actually seeing recently his velocity kind of tick up a little bit, but I don't know if that has anything to do with his the max effort, or just his kind of forcing and overthrowing because he wants to get outs. But I mean, most of it is designed on the ground. Most of it is a design on the ground. We've seen the defense behind him kind of screw up, but also we've seen Clay self-inflict himself to where he just can't throw a strike. He can't throw a strike. This guy will get behind in the count 3-0 so many times. He will drive full counts to hell, mislocate. I mean, it hasn't been, again, it's been it's been overall this season, it's been a competitive season for him, but it has not been a fun ride in any pitch that he has thrown this year. It's been rough. It has been a laboring season for Clay Holmes, whether it looks good on the outside or, you know, it brutal, very brutal every single time he's out there.
There was a stat they showed on the broadcast where it was like in the beginning of the season how Clay Holmes performed when there was men on base and he had like a super low ERA. Yeah. He was stranding those runners, but now those runners have been crossing the plate. So even when he was having better starts, like, okay, he goes 5 innings, gives up 2 runs, but there was still a lot of traffic on the bases. He was able
which is not, it's not sustainable. That is
exactly. It's not sustainable. Yeah. So now those runners that he was stranding are not being stranded. They're scoring. So it just looks much worse. But as far as how many base runners he's giving up, it's not all that different, but he's another guy who walked 5 batters in less than 4 innings. And again, the bottom of the order, walk him. Like, it was just, like you said, it's brutal to watch. Like you said, 3-0 count instantly. Like, you're automatically in the hole with him. It just has been very frustrating to watch. And just like when you look at almost his whole rotation, a lot of these guys above 4 walks per 9 in the rotation. Like, that's just not successful. It's not sustainable. Like, you just can't be doing that. And this team, far too often, that's what happens. Like, Manai's been pretty good with it, but then he has instances where he's giving up too much contact. So it's like, even the guys, if they're not giving up walks, they're giving up hits. So it's like, no matter what, it's too many base runners to work around.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many things that you can do, and then you also have the factor of the infield defense not being swift at all. Like, it's really has not been good all year. They've had issues all year, whether it is from any of the young guys or trouble turning double plays. Francisco Lindor has looked discombobulated throughout the entire season at shortstop. Even if you want to talk about him statistically of the range he still has, which I don't think he's missed a step. Lots of miscues this year from Francisco Lindor, that have definitely snowballed into deciding factors in games this year too. So again, it just hasn't been completely swift. And I do think that I think there's room for him to be a little bit better, but I don't know if the room to do that is now, like the time to do that is now. And if they do need to move into the bullpen, move to the bullpen. I mean, I don't know. If they want to make that decision, go ahead and make the decision. There's nothing of me just saying, well, keep him in this rotation. Let him learn. Let him go through. Like, he's not a prospect. This is an experiment, like we said. And if it starts to wear off, you're going to have to make somewhat of a decision. They had the first domino to fall earlier this week, moving Frankie Montas to the rotation, to the bullpen. So they've definitely have had thoughts of probably moving Holmes to the bullpen. Will they do it? I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too late. It's a little bit different with Frankie Montas because he came here a little bit late. And also he's been a starter before. I don't know if there's just a reason as to why they just are like, okay, well, we're not going to disrupt the rhythm of a first-time starter because that probably is a little bit more detrimental than probably beneficial just because he's a former reliever. However, if he's struggling to get through 4 innings, if he's struggling to give you length in the game, and you want to, you want to manipulate the service time. You already passed that deadline of August 15th. If you need to bring up Sproat as another to fill in there because Clay Holmes is not giving you length, you might have to. You might as well have to, because what are they going to do at this point? They can't afford to continue to be getting these starts from the starting pitching and then expecting, well, this inconsistent offense to score 11 runs or the bullpen to cover 5 innings every night. It just can't happen. It's just, it's not possible to happen. We've seen it before, but it's not going to happen every single time. And that's kind of the case that they've been caught in a lot. They've had a lot of cases where the bullpen is in there in the 4th inning. The bullpen is in there in the 5th inning. And they completely collapse because they're completely overused. They were killing them for the first 2 months. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked whatsoever. Anybody else we can mention? Cedric Mullins has played a little bit better. He's definitely done better at the plate. Let's just say that it started off a little bit slow for him. He had a decent series, especially situationally. It seems like he does okay against righties. It seems like he does okay against righties compared to what we were advertised. It seemed like he was doing okay against them. But I don't know. He hit his first home run in that Milwaukee series. It seems like he's starting to get going a little bit recently, but he hasn't really been here for that long.
McNeil was definitely a dud for sure. I mean, he had like a 0 for 5 and 0 for 4, like a 1
I wasn't
for
paying
4.
attention.
Like he only had one hit in this series. So, and I mean, he had some stuff like he was in the frustration is it's always visible with McNeil, but it's a little extra visible this time around. I mean, he was really just like there was even one where he had at bat, he hit a ball hard, it was foul, and he was like flipping out, like he's like just totally raging on the field for hitting a foul ball. Like it's like, dude, the at bat is still going on. You have to get back in there and focus. And then immediately he lines out again, and then just like again, helmet off, just like going bananas out there.
That I do know. That I do know happened in this series because there's always, the Mets category that I go through on Getty Images for, thumbnails and graphics. There is a few pictures of this dude with his hair flying in the wind, with his helmet flying like...
It was like he's always mad, but it was a little extra this series for sure. It could be built up frustration for the team not performing. Like even Lindor, we saw when he made the error in Milwaukee, he was like slamming the glove in the dugout, which like the other 10 errors he's made,
barely see that.
Yeah, he hasn't done that. So like there definitely is a sense of frustration selling it for the players, and it's up to the coaches to kind of keep these guys loose and ready to play and not just instantly kind of falling apart mentally. Like. There's some of the coaches supposed to do it. If don't have them press too much, they're not overthink. And there's been a lot of that.
Prepare them for anything though.
Or prepare for anything. That's where veteran leaders step up. But if our veteran leaders are too busy holding chanclas and not talking with the younger players, that can happen. And you get rid of all your other veteran leaders. Stuff like this can happen. But that's what they chose.
Where the hell did that thing even come from? Like seriously, where did that even come from?
Yeah. I'm not even gonna get into it.
I don't even have like a. I'm so.
You wouldn't understand. So don't.
Okay. Cool. I guess I'll just be left in the dust for it. I don't care.
You're left in the dust on that one. There's not much more on that.
All right. Well. Cool. Anyways, some other thoughts in this series. Jeff McNeil being Jeff McNeil. That's been said. There was one other thing in this series that I did want to bring up, but I don't remember. It has more to do with the hitting approach, which we don't really have time for. Anyways. Let's get into.
I'm sure there'll be more for you to add on to it next time anyway. You know what I mean? Like they'll just do some other stuff. They'll just give even more like to even go off of. It's just ridiculous because it's constant. I mean, it's like we talked about every episode anyway. So it's just gonna keep happening.
Yeah, I'll say it as quick as I can. That sac fly by Nimmo, middle pitch taken to the opposite field. I mean, if there was no runners on, it wouldn't have been in revisionist history. Wouldn't have been great, but. Just like really, it just shows you that this team just they purposely swing late. They purposely swing late. It's literally well known.
And it was one of the things that the Mets analytics account had posted that like with the bat speed these guys have individually, like what they're capable of. There's no reason to do that unless you're intentionally trying to do that.
How many times have you heard me say wasting damage? How many times have you heard me say that?
We know.
It's crazy. It's nuts. Yeah. But hey, what the hell do I know? Anyways, going forward, let's move on to this upcoming series against Seattle, which is about to start in an hour. Now, obviously, this is a Seattle team that is contending at this current moment, right? They are second place in the AL West, and they've definitely been better offensively than recently. Obviously, they've had some really good performances individually, but we all know about that pitching staff, which you're definitely going to be facing the heart of this series. Now, let's get up to these upcoming probables. Game 1, Sean Manaea will start the series opener. He'll face the high volume arm, something that we don't have. Luis Castillo. First pitch is tonight at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. And in Game 2, Mets' top pitching prospect, Nolan McLean, will make his highly anticipated Major League debut. He'll face the 25-year-old stud right-hander himself, Brandon Wu. First pitch is tomorrow afternoon at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time on Pix 11. And in Game 3, Clay Holmes will start the series finale, and he will face the injury-riddled George Kirby. First pitch will be Sunday night at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, and that game will also be played in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, as a part of the Little League Classics. So this is a Mets team that faced this Mariners team last year. I'm pretty sure they went to Seattle and got their asses handed to them.
Yes, they got.
Yeah, I think they scored like 2 runs. Yeah,
I remember it was like a West Coast swing, and it's just like we were staying up late to watch them get destroyed. It was so brutal.
Yeah, not fun.
No,
definitely not fun.
And it's another one of these teams where if you have a struggling offense, it's like if you could list the teams you don't want to face when you have a struggling offense, this is one of them. Like you showed with that rotation they have, the arms that they have in the bullpen as well. Some of them, like they can shut down anybody. So if you have a team that's struggling offensively, you have an inconsistent offense, underperforming offense, you don't want to face these guys. I mean, they are a tough matchup. And I remember one of the worst parts, maybe what capped off that series last year, was they had a game on ESPN, and Cal Raleigh, who was not having the season he's having last year, was doing well, and they just went on and on and on about the dumper. I mean, they spent all 3 hours of that game talking about the dumper. So I guess
the hype was real, though. I guess it was real.
They were ahead of the curve. But then my hope for this series is just that on Sunday, that Cal Raleigh does go off at least on Sunday, because the broadcast will not let go. They will just go on, and the whole game they'll just go on and on and on about it. So that's just like my one hope for this series. If they're going to win, great. But if they're going to lose, just don't have Cal Raleigh go off on Sunday, because the ESPN broadcast, as rough as it could be, usually it becomes even more difficult to tolerate when you have that going on. But he has been struggling in the second half, despite the historic first half of the season, especially in the catcher position. He's been struggling. They added the biggest bat of the trade deadline, Eugenio Suarez. He struggled as a Mariner. So I'm curious to see how the Mets approach these guys. I mean, we know the power they're capable of. It hasn't happened recently, but they still have other talent in this lineup. Obviously, Julio Rodriguez is someone to watch out for. Even Randy Arozarena, he could turn on any moment. He's having a very solid season. So they still have players to watch. I mean, they're another team that you feel like with the roster they have, they added Naylor, that their record should be better than what it is, considering the rotation they have and the individual talent in the lineup. But like the Mets, they also struggle with men on base. So it's going to be interesting to see how these offense match up with one another when they do have some similar weaknesses.
We'll see. I mean, this Seattle team, I'm pretty sure they had 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 6 All-Stars, I'm pretty sure, this season. Yeah. They had definitely some really good individual performances. Obviously, Cal Raleigh, like we said, leading the way, having this historic run. Like you said, he's been struggling recently, but we know that he can be a threat. The Mets have been known to wake up struggling hitters. That's happened before. That bullpen. Andres Munoz having himself quite a season. Let's just say that. He started to struggle a little bit at the beginning, but he has picked up ever since then. They even have some other pieces. Edward Buzardo, who's also had a really good season for them. He's actually pitched the most innings out of that entire bullpen this year, 2.83 earned run average. Gabe Spire? Is that how you say it? I don't know. He's been really good for them as well. And they've had some other guys who've had some
you got Matt
really
Brash.
good. Matt Brash. I don't know if is he injured?
No, he just pitched the other night. So I mean, he's good to go.
Matt Brash, disgusting right-hander as well. They have pitching. The hitting has been better than it has been recently. Obviously, with them getting Josh Naylor, who I know has this year been good. Obviously, they acquired him at the trade deadline. I don't know if he's been doing well in no, he's done really well for Seattle. Yeah, okay,
really well.
But Suarez has
he's
not been
hitting 125
great
as a Mariner.
Okay, and he has a OPS plus of 10. Perfect time for him to wake up against us.
Exactly.
That would be awesome.
He's like, oh, I'm facing an Ashley team again.
Yeah, one thing I'm hopeful for the long term. Let's just say that in that final game. The Mets are playing they're going to be playing at the the Little League field. They're going to be the Little League. They're going to be in the Little League field, and it's going to be a very good learning experience for kids, showing them how not to play baseball. So it's going to be very, very a good lesson, seeing the Mets on the field of how unfundamentally sound they are. And I feel like it'll definitely help the next generation realize, hey, we shouldn't play like this. Let's aspire to play better winning baseball. So we're doing it for the kids, and that's all that matters. You do it for the children, the next generation.
Yes, I agree 100%. And we don't have Todd Frazier anymore either, so we don't even have someone who had success in the Little League to set a good example.
We don't even have Conforto, who had some decent success.
Another one.
That's another one.
Yep.
Apparently the Mets are interested in Cody Bellinger. That's another that's another Little League hero as well. As some closing points. I don't know where that report came from. It's the middle of the season.
It's like the deadline passed already, so it's like okay.
They like Cody Bellinger. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, with how Cody Bellinger
bro.
Yeah, with how Cody Bellinger has crushed them this year, I'm not surprised why. Like, he's made catches, throws, hits. Like, he's done it all against the Mets this season. He's had a good year overall, and he's as we know. I mean, we'll talk about him another day. But I understand why they have interest. But like you said, the timing of the report is very odd.
I also understand the connection of why John Heyman is saying that, obviously with him being a Boris client, so he's just going to be chirping things like that. But that's just so odd to put in the middle of August.
Would they put him in center because he can't play the corners, and if you bring back Pete, he's not playing first? I mean, unless you put Cody at first and Pete at DH. Like,
he's probably going to center field.
Yeah. I mean, full time, is he still that guy? Not really, but I mean, they don't have much of a choice right now. They just need offense, so I'm okay with it.
It's whatever. I have my kind of concerns with Cody Bellinger, but that's a different topic going forward. But anyways, I don't even know what message I want to send out here, because I want to say don't play worse, but they take that as a challenge. So I guess you do you, just go out there and have fun, because I've been having plenty of fun watching this. Again, like we said, it's all for the love of the game. I'm excited to see Nolan McLean again, but like we said, don't expect a savior. And if you don't expect a savior, I'm just gonna warn everyone. The next episode, I don't want to see any ranting about Nolan McLean sucking or anything. Just saying, don't expect him to be fantastic. Don't expect him to save them at all. Okay? He is a young pitcher. They know that he could possibly be good in the future, but this is his major league debut. All right? We will talk about the major league debut. We'll run it down next episode. But again, don't expect that to be he's a full contributor. Like we said, 10 years ago when Matt Harvey got here, it's a lot different of a game. Frank, if there's anything that you want to add here, again, I am kind of speechless, even though we've been talking for 2 hours. I don't know how it can get any worse, but I'm sure that the Mets will try to top it, because they know how to do it in a shitty rhythm right now. It is just brutal to watch. Brutal.
It is brutal, but on this date in 2011, Jason Isringhausen got his 300th save with the Mets, so it would be a nice time for Ryan Helsley to wake up and be productive, so Edwin Diaz could get more saves. When was the last time Diaz got a save? How much they've lost? It's like Diaz. When was the last time Diaz even came in with the lead? I mean, that's just how bad it's been recently. He either comes tied or behind, or then he hasn't worked in a week.
I also was told that only Edwin Diaz blows games. So again, least of the worries, right? Least of the worries. All right. Listen, everybody has been screaming and yelling plenty of times when he fails that they need a new closer. All right. Well, Ryan Helsley was a closer. That work? I don't know. Sure. listen, if you need a new closer, go get your new closer. But hey, it's all gonna come back to Diaz. Sorry, can't put him on. You can't throw him under the bus, folks. You can't do that this year. So I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, we'll send you back out to Citi Field if you guys want to watch this game, because we wouldn't blame you if you didn't want to. But anyways, for those of you in here, thank you guys so much for watching, listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications. No matter if the team is good or bad, we are here after every single series to break it down through losses, through thick and thin, because that's what we are here to do. And make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we do go live and do that such thing. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Mainly features Frank's post-game reactions after every single game. Follow all of us individually. And finally, let's go Mets. Again, like we said, go out there and just have fun. You do you, all right? And if you want to play winning baseball at any point, that would be great. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see you guys next time. I just don't know at this point.